human voice. It's the instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world probably. It's the only one that can start a word or say, I love you. And yet, many people have the experience that when they speak, people don't listen to them. And why is that? How can we speak powerfully to make change in the world? What I like to suggest, there are a number of habits that we need to move away from. I've assembled for your pleasure here 7 deadly sins of speaking. I'm not pretending this is an exhaustive list, but these 7 I think are a pretty large habit that we can all fall into. First, gossip. Speaking ill of somebody who's not present. Not a nice habit, and we know perfectly well the person gossiping 5 minutes later will be gossiping about us. Second, judging. We know people who are like this in conversation, and it's very hard to listen to somebody if you know that you're being judged and found wanting at the same time. Third, negativity. You can fall into this. My mother in the last year of her life becomes very negative, and it's very hard to listen. It's hard to listen when somebody's that negative. And another form of negativity, complaining. Well, this is the national art of Indonesia. It's our national sport. We complain about the weather, sport, about politics, about everything, but actually, complaining is a fire of misery. It's not spreading sunshine at landless in the world. Excuses. We've all met this guy. Maybe we've all been this guy. Some people have a blame trauma. They just pass it on to everybody else and don't take responsibility for their actions. And again, hard to listen to somebody who's being like that. Penultimate, the 6th of the 7, embroidery, exaggeration. It demeans our language actually. Sometimes, for example, if I see something that is really awesome, what do I call it? And then, of course, this exaggeration becomes lying, and we don't want to listen to people we know are lying to us. And finally, dogmatism. When those two things get conflated, you're listening into the wind, and that two things is facts and opinions. And that's what's going on dogmatism. You know, when somebody's bombarding you with their opinions as if they were true, it's difficult to listen to that. So here they are, 7 deadly sins of speaking. These are things that I think we need to avoid. But is there a positive way to think about this? Yes, there is. I'd like to suggest you that there are 4 really powerful cornerstones, foundations that we can stand on if we want our speech to be powerful and to make change in the world. Fortunately, these things spell a word. The word is hail, and has a great definition as well. I'm not talking about the stuff that falls from the sky and hits you on the head. I'm talking about this definition, to greet or acclaim enthusiastically, which is how our words will be received if we stand on these 4 things. So, what do they stand for? See if you can guess. First, the H is honesty, of course, being true in what you say, being straight and clear. The A is authenticity, just being yourself. A friend of mine described it as standing on your own truth, which I think is a lovely way to put it. The I is integrity, being your word, actually doing what you say, and being somebody people can trust. That is integrity. And the L is love. I don't mean romantic love, but I do mean wishing people well for 2 reasons. First of all, I think absolute honesty may not be what we want. I mean, my goodness, you look ugly this morning. Perhaps that's not necessary. Tempered with love, of course, honesty is a great thing. But also, if you're really wishing somebody well, it's very hard to judge them at the same time. I'm not even sure you can do those things simultaneously. So, hail. Also, now that's what you say. It's like the old song. It is what you say, it's also the way that you say it. You have an amazing toolbox right here. This instrument is incredible, and yet this is a toolbox that very few people have ever opened. I like to have a little rummage in there with you now and just pull a few tools out that you might like to take away and play with, which will increase the power of your speaking. The first, register for example. Now, falsetto register may not be very useful most of the time, but there's a register in between. I'm not going to get very technical about this for any of you who are voice coaches, but you can locate your voice however. So if I talk up here minus, you can hear the difference. Or if I go down here in my throat, which is where most of us speak for most of the time. But if you want weight, you need to go down here in the chest. You hear the difference? We vote for politicians with lower voices. It's true, because we associate that with power and with authority. That's register. Then we have timbre. It's the way your voice feels. Again, the research shows that we prefer voices which are rich, smooth, warm like hot chocolate. And well, if that's not you, that's not the end of the world. Because you can train. Go and get a voice coach. And there are amazing things you can do with breathing, with posture, and with exercises to improve the timbre of your voice. Then, prosody. I love prosody. This is the sing-song, the metal language that we use in order to impact meaning. It's the root one for meaning in conversation. People who speak all on one note really quite hard to listen if they don't have a prosody at all. That's where the word monotony comes from, or monotonous, monotone. Also, we have a repetitive prosody now coming in, where every sentence ends as if it were a question, where it's actually not a question. It's a statement. And if you repeat that one, it's actually restricting your voice to communicate through prosody, which I think is a shame. So let's try and break that habit. And then, pace. I can get very sad by saying something really quickly, or I can slow down, right down to emphasize. And at the end of that, of course, is our old friend, silence. There's nothing wrong with a bit of silence in a talk, is there? We don't have to fill it with ums and ahs. It can be very powerful. Of course, pitch often goes along with pace to indicate arousal, but you can do it just with pitch. Where did you leave my keys? Where did you leave my keys? So, slightly different meaning in those two deliveries. And finally, volume. I can get really sad by using volume. Sorry about it if I startled anybody. Or I can really have to pay attention by getting very quiet. Some people broadcast the whole time. Try not to do that. That's called shortcasting. Imposing your sound people around you carelessly, inconsiderately, not nice. Of course, where this all comes into play most of all is when you've got something really important to do. It might be standing on a stage like this and giving a talk to people. It might be proposing marriage, asking for a raise, writing speech, whatever it is. If it's really important, you owe it to yourself to look at this toolbox and at the engine that is going to work on. And no engine works well without being warmed up. So, warm up your voice. That's like a champagne for the tongue. Next time you speak, do this in advance. Now let me just put this in context to close. This is a serious point right here. This is where we are now, right? We speak not very well to people who simply are listening in an environment that's all about noise and bad acoustics. I have talked about that on this stage in different phases. What would the world be like if we were speaking powerfully to people who are listening consciously in environments which were actually fit for purpose? Or to make that bigger and larger, what would the world be like if you were creating sounds consciously and consuming sound consciously and designing all our environments consciously for sound? That would be the world that does sound beautiful. And one-way understanding would be the norm. That is an idea worth spreading. Thank you.